Hi, everybody. John Kaplan here, back with another Transformer Talk. I'm really excited. Ryan Gnesin with us from Elevate Brands. Ryan, welcome to New York, because I know you're usually in Austin. Welcome to New York. How are you today?
I'm great. It's I used to live here for 5 years, and I always love coming back. And my wife's family are here, so it's great to be back in New York and nice chatting with you.
You bet. I am bullish on the rebound of New York. So I love to see the people coming into town is a good sign for us. So
this place is back and stronger than ever. I left in kind of February when things were just starting to come back a little bit. Now it's kind of booming and it's back as good as ever, it seems.
So as you know, Transformer Talks goes out globally. We have folks tuning in, watching from all over the world, really interested in the rise of digital entrepreneurs, opportunities, selling great products around the world. So Ryan, first, will you just share with our audience, what is Elevate Brands? What are you building?
We essentially we acquire, operate, and elevate online brands, right? And primarily focused on the Amazon platform. So we've been selling on Amazon since 2016, but we began acquiring businesses in 2019, and now we have about 30 brands in our portfolio, about 140 people, and we buy these great businesses. Sometimes we keep the teams on, and we just pull a bunch of growth levers in order to scale the business.
That's amazing. And there's been a lot of activity of people consolidating either Shopify sellers or Amazon sellers or some combination. Why now? Why consolidate these companies now?
So, in 2016, when I was thinking about this business model, as it turned out, Amazon did not allow you to buy an Amazon business and then switch the seller account to someone else, right? And so you literally couldn't do this business model. You couldn't acquire Amazon businesses until I think it was 2018 where you could start doing it. And now, of course, the rules have changed, and now, of course, you can do it. And so, part of the reason is that the rules changed recently, and then, of course, COVID brought a massive surge in e-commerce demand, and with that brought a massive surge in valuations for some of these businesses, because a lot of people looked at that and looked at some of the other, Thrasio got to $1 billion valuation in June of 2020. And so, sellers and investors and everyone looked at that and said, yeah, these businesses are sustainable. Because previously investors would say to us, well, you can't build a real business on Amazon. It's a side hustle. It's a little thing that you do on the side. Maybe it's 10% of your e-commerce business. But nowadays, I think people realize, and Anker, the consumer electronics company based in China, they IPO'd close to $10 billion market cap. And they were primarily an Amazon-born, Amazon-grown, Amazon-native business. So yeah, I think the whole world realizes that Amazon's not going anywhere, and e-commerce is certainly a trend that's only going to get stronger. So it makes perfect sense to buy these businesses. The other thing is, 20 years ago, there was only a handful of products that ever saw the light of day, because you had to be on a Walmart shelf or a Target shelf or something to see. Whereas today you have this massive, massive long tail of hundreds of thousands of these tiny e-commerce businesses. Some of them are really tiny, and others are doing tens of millions of dollars in sales. But that Amazon has democratized the distribution and has allowed for hundreds of thousands of these entrepreneurs and these small businesses to thrive and find kind of niche markets within the retail landscape. And so that's made it exciting, and I think that trend is not going anywhere either. So it's an exciting time if you're interested in kind of selling products and building micro brands on Amazon.
So certainly, our team at Alibaba.com agrees, right? Like, this is our platform is all about helping digital entrepreneurs source the best products or sell the best products B2B around the world. And with 20 million active customers on our platform, we see a tremendous amount of transactions of people sourcing products on Alibaba.com and then selling them to the rest of the world. I'm interested in your perspective about what makes a good Amazon seller or a good digital entrepreneur. What do you look for?
What makes a good seller? I think data is really important, right? So that's important. I think being nimble and flexible is important, because it's such a dynamic landscape with competition and the rules changing. that, if something goes wrong, you can't panic and freak out. You just got to find the solution, and you just got to see hurdles and as nothing, and obstacles as nothing but mere kind of detours along your journey. Because it's, I've had my Amazon business shut down several times as an example, and I've been through all the headaches. So you just got to keep persisting. So I think persistence is important. Data is important. Being able to build a story and find a way to relate emotionally to a seller through your creative and through a great product is important. So those are some of the things I would say are important. And just being resourceful, I think. Yeah.
And what's sort of the profile of the sellers? We have, there'll be 50,000 people tuned in to this webinar, many of them Amazon sellers and entrepreneurs. Be a little more specific for me. What's the profile of the perfect acquisition target for you guys?
Yeah. So first of all, just to clarify, when we buy businesses, oftentimes we would love the seller to stay on, but many times when you've just sold your business for $10 million, the seller doesn't want to stay on, right? So it's less about who the seller is and more about what the actual business is, right? And so what we look for is first and foremost a great product, right? Because even a crappy product, even with the best marketing in the world, is not often sustainable because it's competitive and someone will produce a better product. So important that you have a really great product. It's got a lot of good reviews. Customers really like the product. And then above that, we're looking for a business that we think has sustainable growth opportunities, right? So, we want to see something ideally that we have room to optimize by optimizing creative, right? Or optimizing through channel expansion. That may be other channels like taking a D2C or putting it on Walmart or Target or other marketplaces. And it may also be going international, Amazon, Canada, Mexico, Europe, Japan, etc. And so those are some of the things we're looking for. And then, if there's a growth opportunity through SKU launches, that's something that also gets us excited. Oftentimes the seller will have a list of SKUs that they want to launch, but they haven't had the resources or the bandwidth or the capital to do that. And so if they've got that list, that's exciting for us because we can then immediately go and implement that. Or other times we will come up with our own list of products that we can then go build a cohesive brand.
And what's the role? You mentioned earlier how important data is in running a digital franchise, digital business today. What data do you think the best online sellers are using before they get to elevate? What tools are they using to optimize their business?
Yeah, so look, I mean, there's different aspects of the business. So, as in like Helium 10 or Jungle Scout or Viral Launcher, those are some of the, those are some software tools that sellers use regularly for things like SEO and product research and helping with ranking strategy and tracking keywords. So, those types of tools are very important. There are dashboard tools like Elite Seller as an example, which is very effective in helping to kind of monitor your business. We once were looking to buy a business from a seller and we asked him, well, how is your business performing? Like, how much money are you making? And he said, well, I have no idea how much money I'm making. I just know that at the end of the month, I have more money in my bank account and my lights are still on. So I think I'm doing okay. And, but the more plugged in you are, because if you're doing that, you're essentially flying blind, right? And so being able to not only track your own business and having optics, and you do that through accounting, but also having optics into your competitors, you're tracking their relative rank, you're tracking keywords. Just having that data at your fingertips is going to be helpful in seeing if a competitor is making a move against your listing. It's just being aware of what's going on through the data is going to always be key to growing the business.
Totally agree. One of the things we're doing at Alibaba.com is we recently launched a grants program where we'll be giving away $500,000 to emerging businesses, the kinds of businesses that you acquire, and 50 of them are going to receive grants of $10,000. And we're super excited about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts about how entrepreneurs should get access to capital in their early parts of their journey.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and the spectrum of answers is quite wide. I mean, I can tell you in my case, I funded the first couple of experiments myself, right? I know sellers that have started with credit cards and just started by reselling. So my journey was I started by reselling, and anyone listening could literally go into a Nike outlet store. You could use like Scoutify or one of those apps and scan the barcode of a pair of Nike shoes, let's say on a friends and family discount day, and you'd see what price the product is selling on Amazon, and then you could get started. And so like you could start with $200 in your pocket, and over time you could build that up, and eventually you'd have enough money to maybe go launch a product, buy something off Alibaba, launch it on Amazon. Now you have your own brand. So you could bootstrap it that way. Or there are plenty of groups out there that you could go with, that sellers funding and Accrumi, and there's a whole bunch of groups out there that you could actually go and look to get a loan, a line of credit, or whatever it may be. Friends and family, credit cards, wealthy investors. We at one point we raised a couple $1 million from a wealthy private investor, and that's also how we kind of accelerated our journey before eventually going into the private equity and venture capital world. I mean, that's that's also possible.
A question for you. You described the companies as brands, and I think of brands as having an emotional connection to a customer, and products and SKUs being more functional.
Yeah.
Do you think, are you really buying brands, or are you buying guys who have, businesses that have good product listings?
It's a combination, right? So, one of the ways we always talk about, well, what does it mean to have a brand? And one of the best ways of describing it is if your listing was taken down, right? Would customers simply just buy the next one, or would they go to your website and try and buy the product on your website or somewhere else? In other words, are they looking for your specific product, brand, or are they just looking for whatever the salt and pepper shaker is, and if you're not there, well, they'll just buy the next one and they won't know the difference. And so like you can see when you're buying a business, like you can see some of our businesses, we have 20,000 searches a month for the keyword, which is the brand name, right? Which is different from saying from 20,000 searches a month for salt and pepper shaker, as an example.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
totally agree.
Yeah, and so like we're buying a combination. So what we do is, we have two buckets of businesses, and some of them are products that we just want to double or triple, and then we have another bucket which is businesses that we want to try and 10 or 20 or 30x over a 2-year period, and that is absolutely building an emotional connection with the consumer and building something that is what you would call a real brand.
So have you started or dabbled yet in either distributing the products or brands into physical retail? And have you started, and are you exploring selling the products on social media channels with live streaming? Are either of those things on your roadmap?
Yes and yes. So we've, the social side is more active, and we're actively doing that. The brick and mortar, we have not yet pulled that trigger, but we're actually about to hire someone who's going to come on and kind of help us manage that piece of the business. So that's definitely something that we're going to be working on. It's a very different world. There's plenty of opportunity just online, but for certain brands, not every one of our brands, but for certain brands, we think it makes sense to do brick and mortar too.
And you said something that was interesting, which was helping brands get international, right? A brand in the US reaching other markets. Do you explore international brands as acquisition targets, or are you focused exclusively on US sellers?
For the moment, we are focused exclusively on the US, and the reason for that is we see a lot of opportunity in the US. I mean, there's just a lot of businesses out there that are available for sale, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. There's obviously massive amounts of businesses in Europe and China and other places as well, but someone used the expression, in our industry, you're more likely to die of indigestion than starvation. Right? There's a lot of businesses out there, and there's a lot of opportunity, and you have to just there's an element of focus that's important, because if you're constantly chasing the shiny penny and diversifying yourself and you're spreading yourself too thin, I think that's not necessarily a recipe for success. So we want to become really, really good at one area, and then over time, I think we will expand internationally as well.
So it's widely reported, and we certainly are working with our customers to help them navigate, that supply chain disruptions are having a pretty intense impact, both the rising cost of shipping from Asia and then the delays at ports. What advice do you have for folks who are trying to weather that storm, and what action should people be taking?
It's definitely tough. Very few people are immune to this. The thing to do was to book your inventory early, right? And if you've missed that, well, you can air freight, which is obviously expensive, but maybe it's better than nothing. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, it's just, it doesn't look like it's going to dissipate anytime soon. So it's a question of placing orders ahead of time. Now, of course, that sucks up more working capital, right? So that's a challenge in and of itself. The other thing you do, I suppose, is you can just increase prices, right? And we've been experimenting with that. And in some cases, when you increase the price, you lose market share. In other cases, you increase the price and it's sticky. So it's balancing those things that is going to be important. And I mean, in theory, you could be locking in long-term freight contracts, but very few freight providers want to lock in those contracts today because they're seeing prices continuing to increase. So it's a balancing act of all of those things, and just trying to be really cautious of keeping product in stock, but not having so much stock, because Amazon warehouse fees are crazy in Q4 also. It's just a very difficult time at the moment, but I think it's a short-term phenomenon, and maybe it's another 6 or 12 months, and then hopefully the world resumes back to normal.
Yes, I certainly hope so. Diversifying your supply chain is another area I would encourage folks to do, which is, at Alibaba.com, hundreds of thousands of suppliers, so you can identify suppliers from all over the globe that potentially can help you find great supply. That does sound a bit like an Alibaba.com commercial. So apologies to all those folks out there tuning in for that. I know, Ryan, we don't have much more time. So just last question. Thank you for taking the time today. If you were going to start from scratch a online retail business, what category would you start in, and how would you figure that out?
Look, me personally, I would go and buy a bunch of shoes. If I was trying to start from scratch and just trying to learn, I would go to like a Marshall's in the US or a Nike factory outlet store. Or some people go to Walmart, scan products, look for stuff that sells, and put it up for sale on Amazon. Because once you've sold 2, 3, 10, 20, 50, 100 pair of shoes, you develop a certain confidence, and you understand how the game is played. And that just gives you the confidence maybe to take bigger bets. So it depends on what your budget is. But I think that's a good way to start. If you're trying to go immediately into private label, that is a much harder question. Pets is a great category, because, for example, but super competitive. So, I like to say, try and find something that is trending. Try and find something online that is trending, something that you're actually passionate about, that you know something about, and try and launch that product. And hopefully you can do some research and see that the demand for that particular category is growing. So, I mean, you can use Google Trends, and there are other tools that you can use, but you want a product with a category, you want a category where the demand is growing, or an upward trajectory, and you know something about it, and you're passionate about it. And hopefully, if you've got a competitive advantage in some way, maybe you can develop a relationship with the supplier. Maybe you can source it in a way that's cheaper than your competitor. But those are some of the things I would be thinking about if I'm looking to launch into a new category.
That's great advice. And a reminder for everybody tuning in, check out the Alibaba.com and Hello Alice grant program. If you want to apply, we'd love to have you. We're giving away $500,000 to some pretty lucky entrepreneurs. And so we're excited about that. And Ryan, thank you so much for taking time today to share your advice and wisdom. If an entrepreneur wants to contact you, Ryan, and introduce their business to you, how should they do that?
Sure, please. You can find me on LinkedIn, or just email me directly, Ryan at elevatebrands.com.
Awesome. Ryan, thanks for a great conversation and continued success.
Amazing. Thanks so much. Nice chatting with you, and good luck, everybody.
Thank you.